This is the cube, and it's just one of the many puzzles I've built to test the unique skills of a whole host of different sea creatures.
We'll be testing memory and precision with the Whacker Crab puzzle.
No, wait.
Raw power and aggression with the floating lid puzzle. And boxing skills with the magnetic door puzzle. But, most importantly, we'll be perhaps the first people to test whether a wild octopus is intelligent enough to unscrew the lid of a jar.
No way! Go on, you can do it!
But let's start with the cube, a sensory puzzle designed to test the noses of creatures that smell to survive.
Like this guy just here, the moray eel. So, somewhere on this large acrylic cube is a tiny entrance. The moray eels cannot see it, but if they can smell their way in, they're rewarded with this shrimp and mackerel.
These white-eyed morays are known for a few things. Terrible eyesight, a great sense of smell, and unwavering confidence, making them the perfect candidates for the cube, and they were eager to get started. But while I was sure they'd solve this puzzle with ease, things played out a little bit differently. The eels became obsessed with one side of the cube, using their long slender bodies to dig down underneath the box. Drawn in by the scent and the commotion, other morays soon emerged. But this increased competition persuaded the eels to spread out and try and find new ways in. Some ventured around the back, but eventually one of the eels headed straight for the entrance. And completely missed. Again, and again, and again. My theory is that the concentrated scent pouring out of the hole was rising upward, and the morays just followed it. It's very unusual to see benthic predators like these white-eyed morays swimming off the bottom like this, but evidences their reliance on their smell and shows just how bad their eyes really are. However, undeterred, the same eel with its deformed jaw tried again, and this time it found its way in. Although, like before, it seemed the eel was completely overwhelmed by the concentration of scent inside the cube, making it unable to pinpoint exactly where it was coming from. But eventually, it bumped into the tasty snack it was looking for. For the other eels, this must have been pretty frustrating to watch, albeit in very low resolution. Interestingly, despite taking a long time to work out how to get in, once the first eel entered, a second soon found the entrance, and after a quick scrap for the baitfish, decided the tasty and very expensive shrimp was a much better option. Whether it was learning or simply opportunism, seeing one eel inside clearly encouraged others to take a closer look. In animal behaviour, this is called local enhancement, when one individual's success attracts others.
I think it's safe to say that these white-eyed moray eels passed the first puzzle. On to the next one.
But whilst the eels solved the cube with ease, the next puzzles presented much more of a challenge. To some creatures at least.
So this puzzle tests memory, and I'm going to test my good old friend here, the white-spotted puffer. So here we've got a board covered in 36 cups, and I've got this little piece of shrimp. So, no, wait. I'm going to put it in this one just here, and I'm going to cover it up. And then, when he's not looking, I'm going to spin it around. And we'll see if he can remember where it is. This one's not the smartest, so let's try that again. Here, doggy, where are you? Right, watch it. Use your eyes. No, not just yet. Right, watch. Come on, it's just there. Even I can see it. Oh. Yes! I must admit, that was a little bit easy because he could kind of see it. So let's give it another go. And luckily, I've got another nice piece of shrimp tucked up my sleeve. Right, here's a nice bit of shrimp. No, not just yet. Stop puckering up. No, out of the way. Right, watch. Can he remember? No, I haven't got anything. It's over there. It's over there. Do you need a reminder? As you can probably tell, these guys rely pretty much entirely on their eyes to find food. So even though a lot of fish would be able to smell this little shrimp inside the hole, this guy cannot. As just evidenced by the fact that he's just eaten the shrimp's exoskeleton rather than the nice fleshy bit in here. Look, here it is. There you go. I think it's safe to say the white-spotted puffer probably didn't pass this puzzle. It's the taking part that counts, mate. So don't you worry.
However, whilst the pufferfishes with their large eyes, even larger bellies, and guillotine-like teeth aren't really built for precision feeding or remembering things apparently, I had another plan for this puzzle. Although, as is often the case in the ocean, things didn't play out exactly as I expected.
Okay, so we've come to another place now that's full of fish, especially those with little rootling barbels and small mouth parts that they use to pick out food from under the sand. This here is just dead acropora corals that are on top of the sand, and because these fish haven't had access to this area, they should come in. That's the plan anyway. So, here's a little chunk of mackerel. I'm gonna stick it in one of these holes. Which one? Let's do this one just here.
Shortly after swimming away from the puzzle, a number of different fish species came in to investigate, like this pair of sand perch, benthic fish that often hop along the sand, digging around for food. However, another group of fishes is much better at digging deep, the goatfishes. Goatfish have a pair of long probing barbules on the undersides of their mouths, packed with taste buds and touch receptors, that they dig into the sand to detect the chemical signature or movement of prey. But whilst I was sure the goatfish would investigate, after scanning the surface of the puzzle a few times, they largely seemed disinterested, favouring live snacks that were hiding amongst the rubble littered across the ocean floor. However, the snappers weren't quite as picky. This small silvery fish is a humpback red snapper, a schooling species of snapper that can often be found in large numbers on the reef. Whilst adult snappers are known for their power and aggression, these juvenile snappers rely on their precision, never turning away an easy meal, and this small snapper was about to get lucky.
Oh, hey, the snapper's got the first bit. So let's try another piece and see what comes in for this one. Let's go for this hole just here.
The small snapper's luck was out though, as a much larger humpback snapper soon bullied its way in, chasing off any competition. But the smaller snappers already knew how to solve this puzzle, and whilst the large humpback snapper was busy rearranging the reef, favouring dominance over efficiency, the juveniles continued to scan the cups, eventually pinpointing the one filled with fresh mackerel. It seemed these snappers are quick learners though. After a few goes, the snappers seemed to understand that the cups were where the food was, carefully scanning each one, and also pushing jets of water from their mouths to uncover the mackerel hidden under the sand. Whilst the small snappers were much more precise, after seemingly emptying every cup on the board, the larger individual did eventually get rewarded, although his winning streak didn't last long.
Success! On to the next one.
And after watching how readily the humpback snappers picked up the rocks and rubble on the sand, I had a good idea for puzzle number 3.
So, this puzzle here, I like to call the floating lid, and you'll see why in a second. As ever, we've got an acrylic box here that's full of fish, crabs, and shrimps, and you might think that it's impossible to get into this box, but of course, the lid, give it a second, floats. So too do the crabs apparently. However, we're not going to make it easy for these puzzle participants. What we're going to do is place rocks on top of the lid like this to hold it down, and we're hoping that we're going to pick up either fish that are known for using their mouths to burrow around in the sand and flip rocks over to find food, or just super aggressive fish like snappers and emperors that will just bully their way through. That's the plan anyway. Let's see what happens.
A small school of emperors were the first to attempt the floating lid puzzle, showing off their ability to instantly change their coloration and pattern when excited around food. However, despite spending a long time investigating the acrylic box, making sure to check out every angle, the emperors soon moved on, chased away by a resident flag-tailed triggerfish. Whilst this large razorfish is known to dig around to access food, there is one fish in the ocean that loves moving rocks so much, it's literally named after it. Meet the rock mover wrasse. You'll be pleased to hear that after watching over 2 hours of footage, this individual decided to move a grand total of 0 rocks. But soon after, another participant moved in. Meet the map puffer, a fish full of deadly toxins, and armed with a pair of teeth capable of crunching through the toughest shells in the ocean. Like the emperors, the map puffer also spent a lot of time moving around the box, using its mouth to investigate. The teeth on these puffers constantly grow, which is why they tend to bite everything. Talking of teeth, it too was attacked by the territorial flagtail trigger. You might think that a fish this size wouldn't be bothered by such a small assailant, and whilst this was true for the most part, it was funny watching the puffer wince and close its eyes, just like a human would when flinching. Eventually, the puffer moved to the top of the box, nudging one of the pebbles off. But after a while, it became fixated on the orange string, taking it into its mouth and pulling on it. I'm not sure whether some of the scent had wicked up the string, whether it was just another thing to wear its teeth down on, or whether it was drawn to the string because of the colour. It's interesting to think that maybe it was doing this to try and pull the lid off, but that's probably wishful thinking. Despite the map puffer's efforts being commendable, after some time it too got bored and decided to swim off. We were going to need a better plan, one that involved bigger bait, a bigger box, and much bigger fish. And as you'd probably expect, I knew a good spot. The second location certainly wasn't short of participants. Orange line triggers were the first to approach, but was soon bullied off by the two top contenders, a blubberlip snapper and a large yellow-edged moray eel that appeared from in and amongst the rocks. These two certainly weren't working together. Like the humpback snappers from before, the blubberlips also use protrusible lips to vacuum the sand. Morays don't typically manipulate their environment in the same way though, instead using their slender bodies to squeeze into tight gaps and move things around. However, it soon became pretty clear that both the blubberlip and the moray were confused at being able to see the bait through the sides. So, we taped them up. This forced the fish to spend more time above the box, and it wasn't long until the blubberlip got the gist, using his large lips to push half the rocks off the lid. The yellow-edged moray had been replaced by a giant moray, but two helped with rock removal, and after a few violent nose pokes, the blubberlip solved puzzle 3. Although he had to share the prize. But it's not just the big snappers and eels that are famous on the reef for their power and aggression. Other smaller creatures are armed with much more advanced weaponry, including a specific group of little critters with a punch so powerful it can break glass. Although it turns out they don't throw hands for no reason.
This puzzle is designed for the best boxer in the ocean. There's crabs and shrimps inside, and all they have to do is come along, break open the front door, and then they can go inside and have a nice little feast. Let's see what happens.
But this is nature, and despite being presented with some of the finest seafood money can buy, this mantis shrimp had other priorities. I have no doubt that the mantis could break open the doors of puzzle 4 with ease, but like a lot of creatures in the ocean, it's the thrill of the chase that gets them out of bed in the morning, and it's possible the lifeless crab and shrimp in the box wasn't providing enough inspiration. It was time to see whether the octopus challenged with puzzle 5 had the same attitude.
So this next puzzle needs no introduction. We have a jar with a screwable lid, and it's full of shrimps and crabs. And right here, we have a little coconut octopus. Let's see how he gets on.
Now, coconut octopus are well known for investigating everything they come across, and this large individual soon deployed its neuron-filled tentacles towards the jar, and pushed it away. These small octopus weigh a couple of 100 grams, and this jar has a 1 kilo weight attached to it, so that's some pretty impressive strength. But after a couple of attempts, the octopus seemed hesitant. Tipping the jar open gave him better access, and I also gave him a quick demonstration to show him exactly how it was done, although I'm not sure that was well received. When observing wild animals, patience is key, and it wasn't long until this happened.
Oh my word. Oh, he's unscrewing it. No way. Oh, go on. Go on. Go on. This is a first for science. You can do it. Oh, yes. Oh, we got a shrimp. He got a shrimp.
Not only have we proved that wild octopus can too unscrew the lid of a jar, we also got perhaps the first footage ever recorded of a wild animal actively littering. But don't worry, I retrieved it of course. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and if you're in the mood for more, you'll probably like this video.